we are live. So, like I've done last week, week 13, I decided that I'm going to discuss the week 14 games while doing a Eagles franchise draft. I like this series. It's pretty fun. I like doing it. And getting to discuss the previous week of football is also fun. Now, unfortunately, we can't do the Monday night game, but basically, I'm probably not going to be able to do the schedule or the standings update like I normally want to around noon tomorrow. I'm probably going to have to do it in the late afternoon, which isn't good, but it is what it is. So that's what we're going to do. Regardless, I'm hoping everything goes as planned for tomorrow, but if it doesn't, at least there's that. I know I just got that warning thing there, but I'm not hearing any problems. So, alright. So, before we start discussing the week 14, let me just bring up a couple points here. So, this is where we ended our last video. We were looking at the playoff picture. So, as you can tell, the AFC is over here, and this is the NFC, and I made a joke about Detroit actually winning the NFC. I don't think they've done that since Bobby Lane was their quarterback, so, I mean, of course, this is the regular season, doesn't mean anything. We're the 2 seed taking on Atlanta. So, I don't play the games in their entirety. I will if we make the Super Bowl, but that's a big if. So, alright. So, apparently there's going to be a blizzard, which, that's what we had last year in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's where we're at. So before I really start jumping into it, I do want to bring out there are 4 teams that had a Week 14 bye. They were, of course, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Miami, and New England. So those were definitely some key teams. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, so losing Philly hurt, but they were the only NFC team. Indianapolis, one of the better teams in the league. Miami and New England, both are among the hottest teams in the league. Well, actually, Indy's not one of the best, but you know, they've been playing good too. Those are honestly like 4 of the hotter teams. I know Philadelphia did take a loss week 12 to the Giants in a very, very ugly game. But other than that, I mean, all 4 of those teams have been doing better. I just want to glance at who's upgradable. I probably should have done this after the video like I wanted to. Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure I didn't have any stars. So, anyway, the Thursday night game this week was Pittsburgh at Minnesota, and of course there were a lot of memes floating around because those are the 2 teams that didn't beat the Lions this year. Pittsburgh tied them, Minnesota lost to them in a heartbreaking game. So it's gonna be it was a hyped up game, and pretty early on Minnesota was just cruising. It looked like they were gonna easily win this game, but Pittsburgh made it very competitive at the end. And then you had a bit of a concern with Claypool. He caught a first down and he celebrated. He ended up, essentially, because he wanted to celebrate, he cost the team he cost the team like 10 seconds in crunch time. You can't do that garbage. You cannot do that garbage. If you had those 10 seconds, there's a chance that something could have happened. But, like, I get being happy to get a first down. But here's the thing. The clock is ticking. Surrounded by defenders. What do you think is going to happen? You think the defenders are going to let you get away with that? No. A Vikings defender, as he should, knocked the ball. There's nothing wrong with that. He didn't go out of his way to punch the ball out of his hand. He knocked the ball away from him. Okay. That kills 10 seconds right off the clock. And guess what? The rookie, Pat Freiermuth, had to get the ball. To me, that just shows something. When your rookie, Pat Freiermuth, is getting the ball from one of your supposed leaders on the offense in Claypool, yikes. So anyway, we get towards the end of the game. We're in the red zone. There's time for 1 play left. Roethlisberger tries to thread the needle, throw a perfect pass to Freiermuth. He gets it, but Minnesota breaks it up. End of game. Vikings would hold on to win the game by 8 points. So, of course, even if Freiermuth had caught it, they would have needed to get the 2-point conversion. But notably, this game saw a very strong performance from Dalvin Cook, who was coming back from a few weeks off due to a knee injury. That was extremely, we were all hoping he would have a good game, but I don't think anyone expected him to rush for over 200. Like, he just dominated. Plain and simple. He just dominated that game. Oh, I don't know why I'm doing a kickoff. So, he just, oh man, Dalvin Cook was insane. That's what we were hoping to see with Dalvin Cook. You know, that's vintage Dalvin Cook performance there. I had to give him a shout out. I couldn't not give him a shout out. It was just a very good back and forth game. So, now we go to the Sunday slate of games. And unfortunately, some of them were good, but some of them were not. So we had the New Orleans versus New York Jets. And Taysom Hill, as you can probably expect, started off this game surprisingly slow. So that wasn't exactly a positive, but he did end up starting to click. He didn't throw any interceptions, all said and done. Oh, that's not good. We're getting beat. Alright, I'll get back in the game here. Release the drive. So, he had a solid game, all things considered. He didn't throw for an interception. And he didn't have to run the ball as much as he did last week, at least. So, there was that they had going for him. But, namely, too, Alvin Kamara came back from his multi-week absence. I think he missed 3 weeks, if not 3, then 2. Unfortunately, Mark Ingram was out regardless, so they kind of had to rely on Kamara and Taysom Hill to run the ball. And Kamara had a good game. He rushed for over 100 yards. So it was a good day. It was a good day to have running backs returning from the injured reserve, or a good week, I should say, since Minnesota's game was the Thursday game. So he does good. Taysom Hill ran for a couple touchdowns. The receivers didn't do anything, but that's Taysom Hill. That's the Saints offense post injury to, Winston. On the flip side, the Jets, Zach Wilson did not look good. I have no idea what the heck's happening on the screen there, and man, that was interesting. So Zach Wilson did not look good. He was the team's leading carrier. They definitely missed Michael Carter. I mean, Carter was a great player to have on the team, and unfortunately for them, he's hurt. He hopefully will be back maybe this upcoming week. I doubt it. But then again, I said I doubt that Derrick Henry would be back, and we're talking about a potential Derrick Henry week 15. Maybe, probably not, but week 16 is more realistic. So, it's going to be fun to watch and see what happens, but still, Wilson didn't have the best game at all. He wasn't accurate. CJ Mosley was a good tackler, but Saints easily won this game. No doubt about it. So, we still have other games to look at, of course. Those are just 2. So, after that, we had the Falcons and the Panthers. This was another very, a close game. A closer game than expected. So, Falcons were able to go into this game and pretty much, if they still had, that was a bad throw by me, if they still had Calvin Ridley, I'd be more inclined to say, hey, oh, I'm going to miss that. If they still had Ridley, I'd say that they'd be a better team. But obviously, he's still taking his mental health break, so you got to respect that. It is what it is. Mental health comes first. I completely understand that. So, alright. Corduro Patterson had a good game, continuing to just completely outshine Mike Davis. Like, Mike Davis, he's just, I don't want to say he's fallen off a cliff because there wasn't really too high expectations for him, but Cordero Patterson, he's playing like the first round pick that he was years back. Because if you remember, he was a first round pick. It feels like a decade ago at this point, but receiving core was led by Russell Gage. Kyle Pitts still not playing like the potential, this is a top 5 pick for a tight end. He's still not playing at an elite level, but he still had a good game. Matt Ryan didn't have a vintage Matt Ryan performance, but it is what it is. Now, for Carolina, both Newton and Phillip Walker played this game, so clearly they weren't exactly happy with Cam's performance. It's just one of those games, one of those weeks where Cam struggled. Cam was the team's leading rusher. Surprise, surprise. He did add a touchdown on the ground. Chuba Hubbard Still not CMC, obviously. CMC is definitely missed. He's wow. He's one of the better backs in the game. He's probably the best, at least overall back in the game. Henry's obviously the best rusher. But then again, you know, there's Jonathan Taylor. So they definitely miss him. Regardless, Robbie Anderson finally had a decent game. DJ Moore had a solid game. However, he did hurt his knee. So that's never a positive. Hopefully he doesn't miss any time. If he does, hopefully it's just like a week. But still, so easy, not easy win, but a very close win for the Atlanta Falcons. So they got that going for them. Seattle versus Houston. This was another game where it was just kind of like, ugh, someone has to win. And I know a lot of Houston fans were hoping, oh hey, maybe our Texans will get a win. It's a game that we could win, but didn't happen. It wasn't even that close of a game. It wasn't that pretty of a game. Oh, man. It wasn't a pretty game. Rashad Penny just went off. He had 2 touchdowns, rushed for over 100, almost 150 yards. And I don't think people were expecting that. Obviously, they still miss Chris Carson, but getting this type of performance from Rashad Penny has to at least be a positive. Yes, I know it came against Houston. Yes, I'm aware that Houston is far from a strong team. I get that. But Rashad Penny is a former first-round pick, so the pressure has been on. I mean, a lot of people have been kind of upset with how he's been playing, how the team's been using him. Obviously, when they signed up Carson, there was a long-term deal. A lot of people were very annoyed with that. They're like, well, you drafted Rashad Penny. This is ideally what you see from Penny. Alex Collins was a non-factor, so they're definitely hoping that Rashad Penny can continue to play at this level. Russell Wilson played well. Tyler Lockett was his receiver of choice this game. As we've seen this year, he got the deep ball going. DK Metcalf, I don't know what's going on with DK and Russ. I don't know if they're just like not on the same page this year, or if DK is just completely commanding like extreme coverage. I don't watch a lot of Seattle games, so I can't tell you that, but he did okay this week. He did better than last week, but that's not saying much. I mean, he was pretty much a non-factor last week. Houston on the flip side, so they are rolling with Davis Mills now as their starting quarterback. So, I mean, be that as it may, I'm not exactly excited about that. It's Davis Mills, but he at least had a solid game. He did throw for over 300. He didn't throw an interception. So, there's that. On the running side of the game, David Johnson was placed on the IR, so that didn't help the team in any way, shape, or form. That was a good hit by their defense. So, yeah, no one rushed for over 50 yards on the team. So, yeah, I keep saying so, yeah, but it just shows you how meh the Texans are. I mean, I'm gonna say it. You know, Deshaun Watson. It's such a tough situation, but at least Brandon Cooks had a solid game. He didn't get a touchdown, but at least he had a solid game. Easy win though for Seattle. Then you get Kansas City versus Las Vegas, and a few weeks back, like just over a month ago, we saw these two teams play. I'm gonna miss another field goal. Oh my gosh. I think I'm lagging ever so slightly, and it's messing with my timing. That's not good. It's not good at all for me. But Kansas City was able to just cruise past the Raiders. So, how did this happen this week? Well, right off the bat, defensive touchdown for Kansas City. Then the Chiefs just continued to pile on. It wasn't a pretty game. It was not a pretty game. If you were a Raiders fan, it was an ugly game. Definitely an ugly game. Raiders, I mean, as a whole, they didn't do horrible, but their leading rusher got 24 yards. So that should tell you right there. Yeah, I don't think we're going to win this game. Especially if they were to score. Yeah, we're not winning. Oh well. It is what it is. Renfro himself was the offense for the Raiders this week. But you can't win with one player, especially with the Chiefs. Mahomes went off. Mahomes had himself one heck of a game. He had an amazing game. Not a vintage Mahomes performance, but he was accurate. He didn't throw a pick. Mahomes has been very, very concerning when it comes to interceptions. So, yep. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a pair of touchdowns on the ground. Gore had a long touchdown for him. Not Frank Gore, Derek Gore. Receiving wise, Tyreek, no one in particular like stood out and had a spectacular game, but everyone on that offense at least contributed slightly to the effort. So it was a good game, at least in that regard. Josh Gordon got a touchdown, but still a lot of questions left for at least Las Vegas. For Kansas City, they kind of silenced some of the doubters. Cleveland, Baltimore was a close back and forth game. Of course, this game's more notable because Lamar Jackson got hurt during it. Lamar hurt his knee. It's unknown how long he's going to be out for. It might not be too long, but it might be a little bit. I mean, losing Lamar, even for a game, is not good for the league. It's not good for the Baltimore. It's a pick. Oh, that's going to seal our fate for the 2022 Eagles. Yikes. That does it for us. I'm just going to sim, honestly. There's no point. But, you know, that's where we're at. That's how that game was still, it wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't an ugly game. But the loss of Lamar was crucial, happened early in the game. And, you know, Baltimore was able to somewhat come back because they were losing early on. But eventually, Tyler Huntley was able to help guide the team. They didn't end up winning the game. Cleveland was able to hold on, get the crucial win. But, I mean, Baker still hasn't proven himself. He had under 200 yards in the win. The running game, Chubb had a solid game, but he was averaging 3.5 yards per carry. He didn't get a touchdown. Donovan Peoples-Jones was the team's leading receiver. So, I don't think they miss OBJ. Dallas, Washington. This was a game that was just dominated by Dallas in the very beginning. Dallas was cruising. The defense was dominant. However, they did end up starting to bench their starters towards the end of the game, which obviously affected them. They kept Dak in. Dak did not have a great game. He threw for just over 200, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But, I mean, what are you going to do? CeeDee Lamb was the team's leading receiver, as one could expect. But Zeke wasn't doing that great. He wasn't all that effective. So he was one of the main starters that they rested. Tony Pollard was out for the game regardless. So I don't even want to look at this stuff. Oh, my contract was extended. Isn't that nice? How sweet of them. For Washington, I mean, Taylor Heineke also was hurt. So he got hurt shortly after Lamar Jackson did. That's why a lot of people were like, this is kind of crazy. This is where we're at. All these starting quarterbacks are getting hurt. So we did get to see Kyle Allen play. It wasn't pretty. But Antonio Gibson didn't have a great game on the ground. So not too pretty either. And I didn't even know who Cam Sims was, but he was the team's leading receiver, at least in yards. He did get a touchdown. Almost a comeback for Washington, but Dallas held on. Then you get the Tennessee and the Jaguars game. Yeah. That wasn't a pretty game. The Jaguars managed to get... Actually, it's funny, we lost 20-0 because they lost 20-0. I don't even really want to get into that game. That game was ugly. Trevor Lawrence did not throw a touchdown. He had 4 picks. The running game, I mean, no one had... This is how bad the Jaguars were. Their leading rusher, okay? Their leading rusher had 4 yards on 6 carries. That's it. It just... You gotta think that Urban Meyer has to be gone after this year. But we'll see. Look at the Falcons knocking off the 1 and the 2s. Gotta give them credit. Buccaneers coming in. So I'm rooting for Atlanta there. Look at that. Look at that. 4v7 in both conferences. Atlanta v. Buffalo, please. I'd love that. Marvin Jones had a solid game, but can't be salvaged. Tennessee, I mean, Tannehill was a game manager. That's what he was. There's nothing more. You know, he wasn't dominant. Hilliard had a bad game. A lot of people were hyped up on him. Deontay Foreman stepped up. He was the team's leading back. But to tell you how bad it was, the leading rusher in Jacksonville had 4 yards. Tennessee had 4 players get 3 times or better than 4 yards. So, yes. Yes, indeed. Oh, look at that. We got a Buffalo-Tampa Bay Super Bowl. Were there any blowouts? Not really. They were both relatively close 2-possession games. Still, though, I mean, this game, Julio Jones did come back, notable for them, but Julio wasn't like an elite player. I don't want to say Julio was a bad acquisition for Tennessee, because he is commanding heavy coverage, but he has been injury-prone. Hopefully he continues to improve and stay healthy. Denver, Detroit, this was another game that wasn't pretty, nor was it fun to watch. So, I mean, Jared Goff took a massive step back. I don't think anyone's really surprised. That we got QB2. We got H-back 3. I don't even know who this guy is. I'm looking at the NFC side. I don't care about the AFC. We got some players here in the Pro Bowl. I'll just kind of scroll through it. But the Lions, I mean, they were without Hawkinson. They were without Swift. So we were never really expecting them to do great. Amon-Ra St. Brown was the team's leading receiver. So, yeah. They would have liked to have Hawkinson or Swift playing. Now, in Denver crushed Detroit. But I think it's more, hey, congratulations, you played Detroit. And, of course, they were playing for Demaryius Thomas. So, let's glance at the yearly awards here. But Melvin Gordon had a vintage performance on the ground. Javonte Williams had a great performance. So Denver is going to continue to run the ball, which is good. That's what they need. We got 6th place in MVP voting for Joe Burrow. I doubt we won Coach of the Year. Dan Campbell won Coach of the Year. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Noah Fant was the Broncos' leading receiver, but he didn't have a spectacular game, just over 50 yards. Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, both did solid. So, Cortland Sutton has been a complete disappointment this year. I mean, once more, he only had a single catch. So, easy win for the Broncos. Los Angeles Chargers versus New York Giants. I'm kind of running low on time here, so not a pretty game. The Giants, you know, you're still without Daniel Jones, so you had to go with Mike Glennon. He didn't do spectacular. Wasn't great. Hey, look at that. The Buffalo Bills are your Super Bowl 57 champions. You know what? I will take that. I would much rather have the Bills win the Super Bowl than the Buccaneers. I'm very happy for that. And look at that. They got Josh Allen. That is just perfect. What an ending for them. Also, shout out to Sam Howell. He was a rookie. I didn't catch this when I was looking at that. A rookie came in and won the league MVP. That is spectacular. That is just amazing. Only in Madden. Like, you look at these stats on the side here. It's so typical. A rookie wins the MVP award. Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year. Mac Jones to the Buccaneers. I got a kick out of that one. TJ Watt makes sense. Sam Howell, of course, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Christian Harris, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm happy with those stats. And for the heck of it, let me just... oops, how'd this come up? Someone had to do it. Regardless, Mike Glennon didn't have a great game, but could have been worse. Saquon, still a bit of a... I'm not going to call him a disappointment, but still a bit of a disappointment, all things considered. Rudolph was the team's leading receiver. The Chargers side of the ball, Herbert continued to be good. He's not elite. He is still dealing with that injury, but he was good. Austin Eckler had a strong game. However, he got hurt. He hurt his ankle at the end of towards the end of the game. So that's not a good loss for them. They need Eckler to be healthy. They're still fighting for the playoffs. So they did end up putting Chase Daniel in for a little bit, but he was just there to kneel the ball. Quick shout out to the Eagle legend Chase Daniel. So Easy win for the Chargers. Last 3 games we have here. So we saw the 49ers defeat the Bengals in overtime. Very close game. This game was better than I was expecting. I mean, I was expecting a solid game, but Garoppolo, he had a better game than expected. I mean, people really call him a game manager. He's not great, but he's not just a game manager. He can still throw the football when he has to. So there's that. Jeffrey Wilson led the team in rushing. Deebo Samuel actually got a handful of carries, more than a handful of carries. Kittle dominated for the 2nd week in a row. Brandon Ayuk continues to improve. On the Bengals side, Joe Burrow started off a little shaky, but he ended up coming in, having a great game. Joe Mixon, still a little bit of a letdown, averaged just over 3 yards a carry. But T. Higgins, great game. Jamar Chase, he's got to be it's going to be close between, to me, him and Mac Jones have to be the front 2 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I wish Devontae Smith was in that conversation, but I'm not naive. I'm not clueless. I know that he's not. He's probably in the top 5, but, I mean, that's just because. And realistically, I'd like to see Penei Sewell get there, but no one's going to award an offensive tackle. So, still, good game by both teams. Very close, very competitive. Bills, Buccaneers. Let's just say the refs won this game. Can we call it that? Buccaneers, Bills. Bills played good. Heavy passing game. Allen was this team's offense. He carried the ball 12 times for over 100 yards, got a touchdown. He also threw the ball 54 times for just over 300 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Stephon Diggs was his target of choice, as expected. Cole Beasley did what Beasley does. Knox, Davis each got touchdowns. Buccaneers, Brady was Brady. He threw the ball 46 times, 2 touchdowns, no picks, for over 350 yards. He ran the ball a few times, including for a touchdown. There was an interesting play in this game where Brady was kind of like tackled, and he didn't like how he was tackled, so he kind of got upset, and he ended up causing a little bit of a scrum. Always fun when that happens. Fournette, another game where he rushed for over 100 yards. Still not a backfield I'd like to get involved with if I'm, a fantasy owner, which I am, but we'll see. Godwin, over 100 yards. Good performance from him. He did not get a touchdown. Evans, however, did get a touchdown. So, Gronkowski, another strong game. A bit of a back step from where he was. But the Bills would lose this game to the Bucs. Although the refs apparently played a role. I wasn't watching this game. Probably should have been. But lastly, we had the Bears and the Packers. This game started off as an offensive shootout between the two teams. The second quarter was just back and forth, 24-21, 24 points in favor of Chicago. So they were up 27-21 at the half. And then Green Bay just went on a roll from there. They put up 17 to Chicago's 0 in the third, and then still outscored them. Fields did what Fields does. He wasn't exactly great, but he could have been worse. He was the team's leading rusher. Not exactly good, especially since Montgomery was healthy. But, I mean, that's where we're at. So, it is what it is. I see our backup center, Ben Jones, retired. So we lost Ben Jones. We lost Villanueva and Jerry Hughes. Okay, I was not expecting to lose any of these guys. I was expecting to lose Alex Mack. I mean, Ben Jones retiring doesn't completely hurt us. We did draft a center last year. We did keep him on the team. He was one of our earlier picks, Alec Lindstrom. So we're okay, but just an interesting retirement there. Villanueva is definitely one that hurts us, but he was more of a backup anyway. Kels retired. All right, Trent Williams retired. A couple potential Hall of Famers. Kurt Coleman. I always forget that he's still playing. Cole Beasley. I'll get back in a second. Oh, my boy Brandon Graham retired. Deshaun Jackson, another Eagles legend. Josh Gordon. Everson Griffin. I think he's done playing football for now. I can't see. I think Minnesota, for the best, is going to say, hey, look, we want you to just step away from football. Jack Doyle, Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winner, Joe Flacco. Ben Roethlisberger somehow managed to stay around for one more year. Jimmy Graham, Matt Moore. Washington football team's leading all-time sack artist, Ryan Kerrigan, retired. Colt McCoy, Vinny Curry, another Eagle legend. And Pete Carroll, look at that picture. What a legend. So for the Bears, I mean, the thing with Fields is he's been doing a lot of dump passes just real quick. That's probably indicative of the offensive line more than anything, but that's where they are. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, he continues to own the Bears. There's no denying that. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 341 yards, 29 completions on 37 attempts. A.J. Dillon was the team's leading rusher. Aaron Jones, however, still had a great game. 5 for 35 with a touchdown. Dillon went 15 for 71, did not score a touchdown. Davante Adams had a great game. 10 receptions for 121 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Aaron Jones added 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. So there were some good games in this week, but there were some bad ones. That's just how football is. You're always going to have some good weeks and some bad weeks. It's exciting. It makes the sport fun. But tomorrow at some point I will be doing our video discussing the standings. But real quick, let me just bring up some of the games that are going to happen for this upcoming week 15. So the Thursday night game is Kansas City at Los Angeles Chargers. We have New England at Indianapolis. Dallas at the New York Giants. Probably not the biggest game, but still. Arizona at Detroit. That should be a good one. That should be a high-scoring affair for at least one side. Cincinnati at Denver could be a close game. Should be a close game. Seattle at the Rams. I kind of want to see if Seattle gets revenge for what the Rams used to do to them when the Rams sucked. Green Bay at Baltimore. If Lamar plays, this is going to be the game to watch. If he doesn't play, we'll have to see. The Saints at the Buccaneers for Sunday Night Football, and Minnesota at Chicago to close out the week. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We have some interesting players that are going to be free agents. I don't think I'm really going to be freaking out about signing any of these guys outside of Butker. Still, let's just offer him this exact deal and hope he signs it. Good. So I don't need to tell you guys that we re-signed Butker. Let's go. The rest of these guys were backups that we had on the team. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I kind of went a bit more involved than I thought I would. So it is what it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was our second year playoffs. Unfortunately, we lost in the first round once more. I'm going to probably take care of the off season right now, get it done with off camera, let you guys know what we did, and do year 3 next Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed this one though. Have a good rest of your day.